So, having done a discussion of the proficiency bonus, and with that brief overview of the ability scores, I thought it would be nice to do a quick series on each individual ability score and what they modify in the different editions. Now, let us get into the actual comparisons of the ability scores. I am going to do this in 6 parts, 6 short videos to showcase an ability score in each one. This first one, of course, we will start right at the top of the character sheet with Strength. And since I usually start with 5th edition, let us start with 3rd. We have Strength here. This is what we have in Chapter 1 of the Player's Handbook for Strength. And it lists things that the Strength modifier modifies. First, we have melee attacks. That's your swords, axes, hand-to-hand combat. You'll note that that is listed separately from damage, because this also, Strength modifies damage for melee attacks as well as thrown attacks, and you will note that the sling counts as a thrown weapon. But you will note that with damage, there's also a very interesting thing going on in 3rd edition, and that is this. While Strength modifies damage, you don't always simply add your Strength modifier. If you are fighting with 2 weapons, your offhand, you had only half your Strength modifier. But if you're using a weapon with 2 hands, a 2-handed sword, 2-handed battle axe, whatever, you add 1 plus 1/2 your Strength modifier. So, as we see, Strength adding to damage is a little bit more complicated in 3rd edition than it is in 5th. Next thing listed, we have skills. Climb, jump, and swim. Those 3 skills, you add your Strength modifier to them. It's what we call, in 3rd edition, they call these are skills that are keyed to Strength. Therefore, Strength modifies these skills. The last thing listed, it just says Strength checks. And that is, as I said, to push, pull, anything that requires brute force. Now, it is also true that Strength determines your carrying capacity in 3rd edition, just like it does in 5th. But we will talk about carrying capacity in a future video, so I will just mention it here. So these are the things that your Strength will modify, as well as it determines your carrying capacity. Now let us look at 5th edition. Now, one thing I do note, first of all, that 5th edition orders things very differently. You note in 3rd edition, attack, damage are the first things listed. In 5th edition, when we look at what is listed for what Strength checks or Strength ability score does, first thing listed is your skill, athletics. They actually say Strength checks. And athletics is listed as a special kind of Strength check, because in 3rd edition, skills are very different than they are in 5th. In 5th, skills are considered an ability check, which is why whenever you... Well, we'll get into skills later. But because they're just considered a type of Strength check, we list the skill first. Now, the only skill in 5th edition that is attached or is modified by Strength is athletics. However, in 5th edition, this one skill of athletics basically does the same thing that these 3 skills of climb, jump, and swim do in 3rd edition. In 3rd edition, there are 3 separate skills. In 5th edition, it's all combined into one. They then list everything that would be considered a basic Strength check, just like in 3rd edition, but in 5th edition, they give you a more complete list rather than just suggesting a type of check. And so we have pulling things, breaking bonds, pushing through, holding boulders back, and that kind of stuff. It is only after listing your basic Strength checks that they then list attack for modifying melee attack and damage. And you'll note in 5th edition, it is just regardless of your melee attack, you add your Strength modifier. There's no extra damage for wielding something two-handed, no less damage for wielding it in an offhand. Although that's not exactly true. We will get to two-handed combat in another video. But it's just a straight, you add the modifier or you don't. So in melee attacks, you add your Strength modifier to attack and damage. They look pretty much the same. Jump, climb, swim, or athletics, they do the same thing, the same abilities. Melee attacks and damage, melee attacks and damage. Basic strength checks, and in both of them, they also determine what your carrying capacity will be. Between 5th and 3rd edition, the ability score of Strength is basically the same. They have almost no difference. The only real difference between the two is the various ways that strength modifies damage in 3rd edition compared to how it does so in 5th.